I had never tried centers with my students until this year. This is my 8th year of teaching, and I should have been doing it sooner. Hi friends, today we're talking about 5 awesome centers that you can do with your elementary music students this week. Centers are so important to exploration and skill building. They're super fun, and the ones I'm going to give you are the opposite of fancy, but they still have a lot of impact and meaning. I want to preface this by saying that these centers are probably best for K1 and 2. I use them with K and 1, but I think my 2nd graders would have had an equally meaningful and enjoyable time. I'm going to give quick rundowns, but I do have an accompanying blog post that includes a bunch of links and resources that you can use to help make these centers come to life in your classroom. Let's dive right in. This first center is I Spy. I printed out a bunch of small pictures of instruments from Charlotte's Clips from TPT and laminated them, and I put them all face up on the floor, and students had to describe the instruments they were seeing without saying the instrument's name. And my K and 1 students don't know all the instruments at this point anyway, so that was kind of a good thing actually, because the goal is for them to try to describe every instrument by its shape, its color, its size, and see who else can guess which one they're talking about. So for example, they might say, I spy a big gold swirly instrument. Once the instrument has been guessed, the students can either flip it over or remove it from the game, and then they keep going until the center's over or until all the instruments have been removed or flipped over. The second center I put out is Pom-Pom Rhythms, and this one was specifically for kindergarten. I had an analogous one for 1st grade that was a little more complicated because they're reading Ta and TT and kindergartners are not. So in Pom-Pom Rhythms, kindergartners have a stack of different graphics, like animals, foods, vegetables, fruits, that all have either 1 or 2 sounds, so 1 or 2 syllables. And they can each have their own pile, or they can each take turns drawing from a pile in the center. And they pick their graphic, and depending on how many sounds it has, they are going to build it with a pom-pom. So every student also has just a little plate or a little cup of different pom-poms. Eventually, when they've exhausted the whole deck of cards or all the graphics, they can start stringing them together in groups of 4 and make graphic rhythm patterns. So if they have, for example, dog, dog, dragon, dog, they can put down 1 pom-pom, 1, 2, and then 1, and they can speak it just like I did while clapping. This gives them a lot of practice and preparation for Ta and TT, which in my school is going to come next year in 1st grade. What they're doing here really is decoding. So they're taking turns figuring out how many sounds these different graphics have. And a lot of them they've actually done with me already. So the animals that I use are the same ones that we did in our Chinese zodiac lesson from February. If you don't have graphics of your own, like if you don't have access to any sort of clip art or Canva or something like that, go to my blog post about centers. I have free downloads linked where you can get graphics and little sort of jumping off points for you to implement most of these centers. So make sure you check out the link in the description. Center number 3 is Sing a Story. And this just kind of came to me because I had these finger puppets in my room for the whole year, and I used them maybe twice in the fall, and then I never really took them out again. Puppets are kind of cool. And Sing a Story, I put them all on a plate, and I said, okay, in this center, you need to pick a puppet and have a conversation with another puppet or with each other. Have a big group conversation. Ask each other questions. What did you eat for breakfast? Where do you live? What's your favorite game to play? But it has to be sung. So everything the students said to each other in this conversation had to be sung. We've done a lot of singing this year. We haven't really done anything like Arioso, so I wasn't really sure how this would go. And in fact, something that a lot of my students defaulted to was talking in the animal voice rather than singing in their own personal singing voice. So it was good for me to see that, because that means that's something that I can work on now. Maybe as a warm-up at the beginning of class, I can choose a few students every day to take a puppet and sing their breakfast to me, or sing something that happened between the beginning of the day and their music special. So we can practice improvising, making up melodies, and not necessarily using the animal voice, but using the student's own personal singing voice. Related to that, the reason I knew that students didn't fully understand what I was asking is because during centers, I am able to circulate, right? I can check in with virtually every student in that class period and see, okay, this student is using a model singing voice. That's great. Okay, this student doesn't really understand how many sounds words have. That's really good for me to know, because during a regular class period, when we all are doing the same thing together, I may not be able to check in with every single student on every single skill that we are working on that class. And it's good for me to know where certain students are, where every student is, so I can adjust my instruction and be a better teacher for them. Center number 4 was a huge hit. This one was Xylophone Composition. I have these xylophones in my classroom. So they are color-coded, they're the colors of the rainbow. So what the goal was for them to write 8-beat compositions using color coding or color-coded notation. I used a template, and before they played, they took crayons and they colored all of these circles in the template in with whatever color they wanted from the 5 notes that I had given them. I didn't want to give all 8. I thought that would be overwhelming. So I gave them 5 different crayon colors to match do, re, mi, fa, so. They colored in the circles, and then they played their own songs according to the colors on their papers. I collected them all at the end, and now I have this great collection of student compositions that we can play at any time. It's something that has further applications beyond just the center. It's something that students can really take ownership of. It's something that they produce and they write and they make up themselves. And I said that they had to color first. They don't need to color first. They can play first and see which notes they want to use. The link for that composition template is a free download in this blog post where I talk about all these centers. So do make sure you check that out if you haven't already. At the end, when you're done watching, head to that post and just grab all those freebies, because I know you're going to want to try these centers in your classroom soon. The 5th center is that analogous center to the kindergarten Pom-Pom rhythms. So instead of Pom-Pom rhythms in 1st grade, we do Popsicle Stick Rhythms. I love craft store manipulatives, Pom-Poms, Popsicle Sticks. Love those kind of things. They're cheap, they're cute, they're awesome, and kids love them too. And they're a great way for them to show me what they know in a hands-on way. So with 1st graders, with Popsicle Stick Rhythms, what they're doing is actually building ta and tt. At this point in the year, I'm coming to you during May, they've known what ta and tt look like for probably 2 months now. We're still practicing fluency and reading, but that's what this center is all about. So what I do is I print out sheets of 4 different graphics that are themed. So I might do springtime rhythms or camping rhythms or beach rhythms, or we actually started learning this with St. Patrick's Day rhythms. They take the graphics and they decode the different pictures into 1 and 2 sounds, and they build the ta and tt pattern underneath. So this is it's a decoding center. It's a center where they practice steady beat, accurate reading, and when I circulate, that is a really good assessment. It's a really good way for me to see who is identifying the symbols correctly and who is reading them fluently and correctly. The center actually began as a group activity that I called Secret Rhythms, and it was for St. Patrick's Day. I called it Secret St. Patrick's Day Rhythms, and we had a bunch of different St. Patrick's Day graphics that I used to build like 4-beat patterns. So I might have had like clover, gold, and I said it, they echoed me, and then they built the rhythm at their seats with their own set of popsicle sticks, because this was a group activity, and then I revealed the answer, and then I was like, well, we got it, or, and during a group activity like that, I can look around and sort of check in to see which students are getting it and which students maybe not quite yet, but it's the center that really makes them a little more accountable, because they're working in a smaller group and they know that I am around the room, like I'm checking in, and I can help them more directly on a one-to-one basis when we're doing those small group things. By the way, the Secret St. Patrick's Day Rhythms and the camping and the summer and the spring, and I think they have a few more, are available in my TPT store. They're super fun. They require a computer component for the teacher, but not for the students. You don't even actually have to use popsicle sticks. You could give them like a writing template, which I do include in the product, where they can just write the rhythms, like in stick notation if you want. So it's not contingent on having popsicle sticks. Although if you don't have popsicle sticks, I would definitely get some. I use the mini ones. You can get like the giant, that's just ridiculous to me, but we use the little ones. I give each student 8 popsicle sticks because they only ever need 8 at a time. And it's a ton of fun. It's a great way for you to figure out where your students are in their music literacy journey. Like I had said at the beginning of the video, this was the first time I had ever done centers with students, and I cannot believe I hadn't done it sooner than my 8th year of teaching. To be fair, I wasn't teaching this age level for the first several years of my career, but hey, centers are just fantastic, I think, for just about any level student in music class. You get to explore a bunch of different things in one class period. You can circulate and check in with students and check their skill level. Do these centers need to be prepped ahead of time? Yeah, a little bit. Do they have to be explained and taught? Yes. But based on what I did with my students, they had a good chunk of, I would say, 6 to 8 minutes at each of these, what ended up being 4 centers for each grade, because I have the analogous center for first grade, 4 different centers that we rotated between in a 45-minute class period. So after I explained everything, they went to each center, they rotated through, and it worked out really well. I thought these centers were developmentally appropriate, they were appropriate skill-wise, and they gave me a lot of information. And students had a meaningful and joyful experience, which is what I am all about. Making sure that students find meaning in what they're doing, making sure you understand that what they're doing has meaning for you. It can impact your teaching, it can impact your scope and sequence. It can give you information about where your students are at for you to improve your teaching. For more advice, resources, activities on ways to make your music classroom more meaningful and joyful for everybody, including you, you can follow me at A Different Musician on Instagram, TikTok, and you can subscribe right here on YouTube, where I try my very best to put out one video a week, either a play along or a decoding activity, or a video like this, which is sort of a share about some cool activities, share about classroom management, shares to help you improve your teaching and make your classroom the best one in the school. If you've watched this video and have incorporated some of these centers in your classroom, let me know how they went. You can drop a comment, you can DM me on Instagram, you can email me. Let me know if they worked, if you have any other questions about them, because I did a brief run through, but there are other things that certainly might come up as you're trying to implement these centers, that questions or concerns that I'd be happy to talk with you about. So do reach out if you have any questions, comments, concerns. I love connecting with fellow educators. Hit the subscribe button. I'll see you next time.